Thanks so much, Matthew. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending where you're from. And so awesome to see all the different locations we've got on the chat today. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you for giving us your time. We know it's precious, and think you'll get a lot out of today. I just want to sing Aaron's praises a little bit because he's far too modest, and he won't say this himself. But we spoke with Aaron right at the start of some of this work around the Librarian Futures white papers, but also some of the new product strategy we were working on at the time. And there's nobody that understands some of these areas better than Aaron. So I'm really looking forward to his keynote, and I don't want to stand in your way too much longer. The other thing I would say is that Aaron's doing a talk. I think it's on the 29th of May. On Yes, it is the 29th of May on understanding the fundamentals of AI in academic search engines. And I personally have signed up to that. I recommend that as well. I think that will be really fascinating. Anyway, but before handing over to Aaron, I wanted to give you my takeaways on some of what I think are the really interesting findings from the report, which Matthew's written up so brilliantly, and also explain why we do these and what the broader context is within Technology from Sage. So, our mission at Technology from Sage is to help redefine and amplify the power of the academic library to advance teaching, learning, and research. When we brought the separate companies at the time, Taliesin and Library, together, as well as acquiring what was then Cywil, we thought a lot about what would be the mission that would guide Technology from Sage, both in terms of future acquisitions that we might make, as well as investments that we would make in product and the areas where we would spend our time innovating. And we framed the mission around the library from the start, and that really goes through to everything we do. All of the product decisions that we make and where we allocate our resources is really down to trying to ensure that the library doesn't just remain relevant with all the challenges that it faces right now and the changes that are going on in the broader ecosystem, but actually increase their impact. And we believe that that is one of the most powerful ways that we ourselves can impact teaching, learning, and research. So why did we do the Librarian Futures series? Well, we started this in 2020 with our first publication in 2021. So we've been working on this for 5 years now, and it's been amazing to see if you commit to something over that period of time, what you can learn. We've learned a lot as an organization. Every time we've gone into it, it's given us new insights that inform what we do in our products, and also inform how we engage with libraries and improves our understanding of some of the challenges that you face as well as the opportunities. Let me just explain to you a little bit about the ones we've done so far, because I think if you haven't come across them yet, a lot of the data and insights in the previous white papers is even more relevant today than it was at the time. So definitely well worth looking at those as well. So the first one was Librarian Futures Part One. Um, we really riffed here on some of the work that uh, thought leaders like Aaron and folks like Lorcan Dempsey at OCLC did around this concept that the library is no longer solely about the collection. It's really a lot about services to patrons. But we felt there wasn't a strong enough understanding of what patrons needed and what their were, and also how much patrons understood the role of the library and vice versa. So I recommend this report to you because there's a lot of really interesting insights on the patron workflow, many of which are still relevant today. You could just switch out Google and Google Scholar for ChatGPT and other AI tools, and some of the fundamentals still apply. Having had feedback from that first report, we realized that one of the key challenges between librarians and patrons was this knowledge gap from students and librarians in terms of what they could offer each other. From a student perspective, there really wasn't sufficient understanding of all that the library could help them with. And from a librarian perspective, there needed to be an improved understanding of what students were doing and how they wanted to be engaged with and um, how they could be best supported. So there's a really good insights here from it's not just surveys. Actually, we also did some interviews here as well, which gives a good understanding of just how valuable the library is and can be to students. And we one of the things I'm particularly proud of here is that we disabused that notion that students don't want to hear from their library, that they're very happy in just staying in their workflow. Actually, nothing could be further from the truth. Yes, they like the convenience of working where they want to work, but they are actively looking for more support and they see the library and librarians as trusted partners for that. And then our third report moved us into the landscape of librarian skills. I think it's really nice to look back on this and to see. I think we were very much informed by what was going on at the time, still relevant now, but you can see there's a nice little arc here to how the librarian perspectives have shifted over the last few years in terms of priorities. We partnered with SkillType here, which is an investment that technology from Sage has. If you haven't come across SkillType, they are a librarian skills platform seeking to bring more recognition to the development of librarian skills and also increase awareness of the need to upskill librarians, which of course even more important now when you think about some of these new ways of working with AI and also the new tools that we need to be more confident in. So there's some really interesting insights here around what skills librarians and library directors, as well as university stakeholders, particularly senior stakeholders, would like to see librarians succeed at and develop in over the coming years. And so I hope that would be very interesting to individual librarians that are trying to work out what their skills plan is within their library or looking for their personal development as well and what areas they should focus on. And that brings me nicely to Librarian Futures Part 4. Uh, Not as many papers yet as Rocky, but we're getting there. This one, Librarian Leadership on the AI Frontier. Well, I think AI is a buzzword for a reason, isn't it? I don't think any of us would say that it's not one of the most important things we need to discuss here and now. But of course, with our lens, we wanted to really focus on the library. And going back to what I said right at the start around our mission, thinking about how can we make sure that with all these changes from AI, that librarians don't just remain relevant, but actually they increase their impact. And there are some findings I'm going to highlight here before handing over to Aaron, which I think should give a lot of cause for optimism. There's almost like a direct fit between the risks and the issues that we face through AI and where librarians are strongest in their skills and their expertise. And so there's got to be great potential there. In fact, that's our strongest call to action today. In terms of how we might learn from this in technology from Sage, we've been looking carefully at where we could bring AI into our products over the last couple of years. We've already been doing that behind the scenes, but we've been taking a bit of time to work out where can we really add value and not just bring in a kind of one-trick pony approach to AI. And we look particularly at our workflows to do that. So we look at Taliesin Lean Library and which parts of the library faculty and student workflow they cover to see where we can most add value. Lean Library, I think for us will probably be the first area in which we deploy AI. We've just been integrating and consolidating the Cywheel Reference Manager with Lean Library into a new tool and platform that we call Lean Library Workspace, which means that Lean Library now straddles discovery, citation, reference management, authorship, as well as bringing the library into the workflow. So we see a lot of potential here for ways in which AI can leverage that data and make patrons' lives easier and more efficient, as well as bringing back insights to the library. So for us, from a selfish perspective, this report was really useful in understanding where we could most add value there. So here are some of the findings I think are particularly interesting. Um, First up, let's look at the student perspective. So I think what you can tell from these findings, if you read them along as I speak now, is that there's quite a broad range of engagement with AI across all the different universities and across different patrons. So if you ask questions like whether your institution has an AI policy, you can see the large majority say that their library or their institution does have a policy, but a significant number are not sure or know for sure that it doesn't. If you ask, are you permitted to use AI in your academic work? A significant number are, but an equally significant number are not. So it just shows you how challenging it is to navigate this landscape at the moment where there's so many different practices across universities globally. Similar responses to whether students are required to cite AI. And then the response and the question that I'm particularly interested in is this question about has your institution pre-approved specific AI tools for students to use in their academic work? And you see 35% have, but 35% haven't, and 30% not sure at all. And this is one of the areas that I suggest that the library and that you as librarians could focus on. There does seem to be a potential risk here with patrons using tools that they aren't sufficiently informed about, that hasn't had that layer of curation and training and insight from the library, and I think could lead to some serious issues in both on both the researcher side, but also on the student side in terms of learning outcomes and development. And then picking up on that theme, we asked librarians how confident they would feel advising students in these areas. And broadly, you can see we're asking about how confident they would feel advising students on using AI in their research process. And then separately, unrelated to AI, we were just asked about their confidence advising students on areas that we think are very pertinent to AI, like searching effectively for relevant resources, working in a digital environment, finding good information, how best to read academic literature, and thinking critically. And what you can see here, I highlighted this here because there's a lot of statistics here, but you can see that if you look at the questions at the bottom, which are unrelated to AI and those broad themes of what is best practice in discovery and critical thinking, you can see librarians are either somewhat confident or very confident. But if you look at their confidence in using AI and advising their students how best to use AI in the research process, 24% are not at all or not so confident. So that to me is an area, if we could see that percentage decrease over the coming years and librarians get more confident in advising students on how best to use AI, I think that could leverage all of those skills you see below that librarians are so confident because the fundamental principles leverage the best that librarians have to offer around information literacy and critical thinking. Hence, this quote, beautifully expressed by Matthew, not me, Matthew Weldon. I'm not going to talk in the third person. Librarian expertise in information literacy and critical thinking can be recontextualized for the AI age, empowering librarians to meet these new challenges. And that for me is an area that I would encourage everybody to look at. Then the other piece is around procurement and curation. So we asked students here whether they would be more confident that a product with AI is aligned with their institution's AI policy if it was recommended and approved by these different groups: library, academic staff, and other students. And the chart I think to highlight here is that 58% of students either agreed or strongly agreed that they would be more confident if an AI product, had been recommended or approved by their library. And when you think about the library's expertise in reviewing all the different resources and databases that are out there, and providing guidance and training and promotion to patrons to ensure they get taken up, I can't think of a better department in the university that should take the lead on this. So that's hence why we believe that when librarians speak, students trust them, and that is a consistent theme from the earlier white papers as well. That students really will listen to their librarian. So you can ignore those findings around students not wanting the library in their workflow or not wanting them there for advice. It may be that they go to all these places outside the library because it's more convenient. But when their librarian does speak to them, they do really trust them. It's a trusted voice for them. However, this is where there's a little bit of a disconnect. So when we ask librarians who should pay for access to AI assistants or AI tools, you can see that uh, for librarians, only 20% thought the library should. Otherwise, it was more the school or department or the college or learning technology departments or no one at all. And I think that's where there's a potential disconnect here. Either other universities procure these AI tools, in which case they will need to take the lead in promoting them and providing best practice and guidance on them, or we'll be left with students and researchers choosing the tools themselves, which has huge risks in terms of equity, but also in terms of quality and alignment with the university's principles and values. So I think that takes me very neatly to 20 past. I'm very proud of myself for being on time. Again, here is the report and the QR code. Please do download it and take a look at those other reports as well. Lots of really interesting data there. And I'm going to hand over to Aaron now because I'm super excited to hear his keynote. Thank you.